Bros, Ash here, welcome back to Gents. Check it out, a new fragrance that's not an elixir. It's insane, I didn't know they existed. This is the new Coach Pure Platinum Parfum, Triple P. And actually, presentation-wise, it looks pretty similar to the original Platinum. Just ever so slightly darker, but just as much of a fingerprint magnet as the original, so that's good to see. That is one thing I absolutely hate about mirrored finish bottles, man. They look good for about 2 seconds. Yeah, this is the new Coach. How is it? Well, first off, let's take a look at the presentation, then I'll break down how this one smells and how it ranks against all the other Coach fragrances. First, Le Box. On the front, you've got the name of the house, name of the fragrance, size, and concentration. As I said before, it's a Parfum, and this is pure platinum. The original Platinum was not pure. Reminds me of Frank Reynolds from Always Sunny. Just wanna be pure. That's this fragrance.
I just wanna be pure.
On the back, a tiny amount of info. And on the bottom, a bunch of info. Your ingredients, your barcode, your batch code. Batch code here, CER53R310. Pretty complex. And here we have the bottle. Looks super similar to the original, only this one is very slightly darker. It also has an extra small little metal Coach tag on it. So you have like the faux leather one, but then the additional metal one lets you know that this is higher end or something like that, I don't know. I have neglected taking off the tiny little sticker thing that's over top of it. Let's do that. Oh, nice. Bottle's your typical Coach style. You have the little logo on the front of the bottle. Like I said before, fingerprint magnet, sticker on the bottom with your batch code. You can turn the atomizer to the side like that to stop it from spraying, like if you were gonna transport the bottle or something, I guess. Let's go ahead and do a couple sprays here. Atomizer, as always, is okay. And that's the full presentation of the new Pure Platinum. And there's the original for some reason, just for fun. Okay, go away. Further away. I'm gonna have this one linked in the description, so feel free to check it out down there. But as usual with Coach fragrances, if you want the absolute best bang for your buck, you're gonna wait for it to pop up at discounters because Coach fragrances are typically heavily discounted. A lot like Mont Blanc fragrances. You know, yes, you can scoop them up immediately and pay a premium to do so, but if you have a little patience, they're gonna get cheaper. But like I said, if you want it right now, all right, let's rip into the opening of the fragrance right after these word messages. By messages, I mean codes. They are also in the description. Feel free to copy paste. Little copy pasta never hurt nobody. So they're down there. You have a bunch of codes to save you a bunch of money between different discounters, Fragflex, the Perfume Box, Fragrance Lord, and many more stores. The JOMASHOP ones change every quarter, so be aware of that. If it's a new quarter, check a new video, it'll have new codes. New. All right, so how does Pure Platinum Parfum smell? Well, the opening comes out fresh, bright, and aromatic, and it's actually a nice change of pace compared to most of the other fragrances coming out nowadays, because most of those are very sweet, extremely vanilla forward or kind of a caramel aspect to them. You know, that just big overload of sweetness. Super popular right now. This one does not go down that path.
Don't do it, brother. Stay on the righteous path.
It also helps it avoid the, if you want to call it, generic, fruity designer vibes as well. You know, because a lot of designer fragrances are coming out that have a big fruit overload off the top, which actually I don't really mind that most of the time. But if you dislike that, this one also does not do that. Instead, this one comes across much cleaner, has a bit of that classy masculine vibe to it, owing to the lavender that you pick up when you first spray it on. And it has just enough aromatic structure to it off the top to have it feel grounded and well put together. So it's not gonna go full on old school barbershop styling, but it's also not trying to be trendy just for trendy's sake, as far as, like I said, that big opening blast of fruit or that over-reliance on vanilla. The mandarin that's in here gives it a nice, bright, fresh lift. You also have a crisp apple that's kind of like peeking out through the lavender. Not as prominent as those other two notes, the lavender and the mandarin orange, but it gives a nice little flair. More of this crisp, clean, lightly sweet aspect that's kind of sitting behind those other two notes. Now you do get a little hint of syrupy rum in there, so you get some booziness, a little warmth coming through that as the fragrance works through the opening. But that booziness never becomes dark or heavy. You know, it doesn't turn this into like a fall wintertime fragrance where it's like, ooh, yeah, now we're getting really sticky, syrupy sweet. That doesn't happen with the rum in here. Just a little hint of warmth, add some texture underneath those fresher notes in the opening. So all of that's happening in like the first 5 minutes. And then you get orange blossom that starts to come out, a decent amount of orange blossom, which starts to push this fragrance into a little bit of familiar territory. Yeah, because while it stays away from the overdone, super sweet side of things, it stays away from the big blast of fruits in the opening. It does not stay away from the fresh, clean, laundry-esque orange blossom vibe that you can find in other fragrances out there. And some of those fragrances don't even have orange blossom as a note, but you know, they're kind of doing a similar thing, right? You may see what I'm getting to here. It starts to be in the same family as something like YSL's Myself. Now, side by side, as is often the case with all these fragrances that have come out over the past 5, 6, 7 years, they don't smell the same when you wear them side by side. But it is one of those things where if you spray this on, the way that orange blossom starts to come through, you'll be like, oh, it's a little similar to how it's used in Myself Absolute, stuff like that. As far as the color scheme goes, actually, the Myself Absolute vibe is spot on. Is that the new thing? Anything that comes in a bottle that's like this is gonna be kind of like this? I don't know. Now, even though that orange blossom here could remind you of Myself Absolute, everything else is kind of different around that orange blossom. So this one comes across a bit denser, has that lavender, the rum, the mandarin orange playing a support to it. So the overall scent itself is filled out differently. It's just that one aspect is reminiscent. And as it settles into the mid, the orange blossom, the lavender, they start working together really nicely. It comes across lightly sweetened, very clean, still fresh, also classy, polished. In a way, it's an easy win. Like through the mid, this stuff is infinitely wearable. It's not trying too hard to be overly sexy. It's not trying too hard to be like in your face or anything like that. It's just modern. It's well put together. It doesn't come across flimsy. You still have a bit of that warmth underneath from the rum. And that little bit of rum that you get is really important here. It's not, you know, a huge aspect of the fragrance, but it is extremely important because what it does is it gives the fragrance its own identity. Without it, it could have come across, you know, a little bit too sheer, a little bit too on the nose, being similar to maybe some other things out there. But that note, especially through the mid, helps this one be more than just another throwaway freshie. You get some clean woodiness that starts to come out in the base as you head into the first part of the dry down. A little bit of a minerality to it, the way that that comes across. Still smooth, still super wearable. Also get kind of an ambery undertone as well. That's gonna give a little more warmth and sort of a resinous sweetness. Still balanced really nicely and clean overall is the vibe through the mid. And into the dry down, you keep a little of that lift, a little of that sparkle from the opening in the mid. That still carries over. It doesn't completely flatten out and get really just heavy and dense and sit right on your skin like just an anvil, a fragrance anvil. It does grow woodier, more of like a modern ambroxany kind of wood vibe. You know, that like polished, stripped away woodiness where you can smell it and go, oh yeah, it's woods, but not really, but kind of. Not a deep, dense, old school woodiness, not that kind of like spicy pop woodiness, not anything like that. The labdanum keeps that ambery, lightly done sweetness kind of just humming along underneath everything into the far dry down. And that restraint is really what helps this one work. Nothing gets pushed too hard. So you sort of have clean aspects, modern woody aspects, lightly sweet aspects, light boozy aspects. So see, everything is not trying to be necessarily the star of the show. It's just all kind of working hand in hand. That's how this one comes across. So that may for some people be worse because some people are looking for something that's gonna really take one aspect and ramp it up, you know, really that sweet aspect, just really push it out there, or a really woody aspect and push it out there. This one instead is keeping it mainly focused on being fresh, clean, classy, but then everything else is just kind of working together, kind of on a similar level. All that being said though, I do think if you're a big fan of fragrances like Myself Absolute, the original Myself, and you know some of the fragrances that came after the original Myself that are sort of in that ballpark, then this one probably going to appeal to you too. Now let's talk performance. It is a Coach, which means, you know, it kind of performs like a Coach. Yeah, I know that it's pure platinum Parfum, but it's not monstrous. Now I'm not saying it's weak, because off my skin, it's fine, it's good. It's just not great. It's not weak, it will linger, as you would expect a Parfum concentration fragrance to do. So if you spray it on your skin, it'll be there for a while. Just expect it to perform kind of like a Coach fragrance, you know? It does the job. It's just nobody's gonna confuse this for one of the strongest releases of the year. But that actually helps in terms of versatility, because this one, for me, year round, any season, daytime or nighttime, doesn't matter. That's one of the biggest strengths of the fragrance, is not necessarily the strength of the actual fragrance, but the fact that in the middle of summer, it's fresh enough that you can wear it. But it also has enough of that, you know, booze, the rum, the labdanum in there as it works through the dry down, that you could pull this off in winter as well, as long as you're not trying to look for something that's gonna perform like, you know, Sauvage Elixir. And it's also got that kind of classiness to it because of that lavender mixing with the orange blossom, that you could use this in more formal occasions if you wanted to, and it's gonna work, and you can really easily use it in casual fragrances or wear it to work or something like that. So let's hit really quickly the pros, the cons, and then the overall verdict. First, the pros. I said that weird, the pros. First off, the opening. Fresh, bright, clean, the lavender smells classy, and it has a bit of that classic masculine scent profile to it when you first spray it on. Second pro, the lavender mixed with the orange blossom. Yeah, lavender again. That combo smells clean, smooth, and effortlessly wearable. The next pro, the rum and the amber. The way that they're handled, it adds texture, it adds depth, it adds a little sprinkling of sweetness, but it never weighs the fragrance down. It never takes the scent and turns it into a vanilla bomb. The next pro, the fragrance is modern, it's current, and you can wear it year round. And the final pro, once this one hits discounted prices, whenever that is, in my opinion, it's gonna be the best pickup in the entire Coach line. If the pricing is somewhat similar, I would take this over any of the other Coach fragrances. And that's not anything against the other Coach fragrances, because there are some rock solid fragrances for the prices. Now the cons. The first one, it's not really a groundbreaking concept. It plays in a very familiar modern lane once you head into that mid. The next con, the performance. It's not terrible, but it's definitely not a standout. And the final con, for people looking for a deeper, darker, bigger statement-making fragrance, that's not what this is. So on the whole for me, Coach Pure Platinum Parfum Triple P, this one lands. Yes, it's kind of taking notes from some other popular things and putting its own twist on them. But to be fair, that is kind of what Coach has always done with these fragrances. So that's to be expected. It's not really a negative, it's just kind of what they do. The quality is good, versatility is huge. People have really liked this one. And as I said, as the price drops, this stuff is gonna be a killer buy. It may fly under the radar a little bit initially because it's not like the most hyped or anticipated release. It's a Coach fragrance, and it's just named Pure Platinum. So you know they didn't exactly give it the craziest flanker name or anything, but this stuff smells fantastic for a day-to-day fragrance. Really nicely done. Can't wait for that price to drop. Really like this one. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. Thank you for hanging with me here until the end. Stay safe out there, guys. Take care of yourselves. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.